Oof. Man City versus Arsenal. Yeah. This is. I was about to say this is about to be the game of the season, but I don't feel like it will. Let me not lie. Actually, I feel like it is the biggest game of the season. I don't feel like it's going to be played like the biggest game of the season. Um, but if you're an Arsenal fan, I don't think you'll care if you come out of the game without losing. I think it's going to be one of those type of games. But we'll wait and see, man. Guys, make sure you smash that like, you share, and you subscribe to the damn channel. Let's talk Man City Arsenal. Let's talk about it, man. So coming into this game, coming into this game, as we know, obviously Arsenal top of the league currently by 6 points. Manchester City obviously got that game in hand over them at this current moment in time. So let's just say, for argument's sake, they win that game. They'll still only be 3 points behind. So of course, this game does is quite a pivotal game. For Manchester City, to be fair, do you know what I mean? Because if they don't win this game, then you might think it might just be a little bit too far. Arsenal got 6 games left. Obviously, City got 7 games left. Are they gonna? It's enough games to still catch someone, but at the same time, yeah, I don't know. I feel like if Arsenal don't lose this game, then I feel like they'll just have enough to kind of get through the end of the season, and they can still drop points technically, technically speaking, kind of thing. So yeah, I think it's one of those, and this is why coming into this game, when I'm thinking about it, and I was trying to think about tactics and stuff, and I thought, oh, let's do like a tactic show and blah blah blah. And we'll take a look at a little tactics, if you want to call it that, but it's just more about certain positions and things like that. Obviously, we'll take a look at the key players I would think for both teams, or key players that I think are going to be, for either side. And then, of course, I'll give you guys my kind of score prediction. But first off, I wanted to start off with Miguel Arteta. I really want to start off with him because obviously there's been a lot of talk. I did the show, I did a video recently talking about, does style even matter? And I'm asking the people, do you care about style? That seems to be a conversation that's obviously being bandied about, especially because this season, last season as well, and maybe even the season before that too. I think for like the last 3 years, when we're looking at football across the landscape, so not just in the Premier League, but obviously, of course, this is a Premier League game. But when we're looking at it across the landscape, you can see, I feel the quality of the Premier League has kind of gone down. You can see the level of other teams across Europe have kind of gone down a little bit. If I'm being totally honest with you, we're not seeing that many good teams, hence why I feel we're seeing more of these kind of Comos, for Brentford this season. We're seeing more of these guys because yes, you could say obviously that the quality of those teams have maybe improved, but the top teams, I feel like their level has started to drop. So it's made things a lot closer. Now, I know a lot of people like the fact that it can be quite competitive and etc. I get all of that, but the reality is you're getting a worse product, but it's more competitive. So I guess it's just one of those. It's like, which end of the kind of spectrum are you? Like, do you prefer that? Do you not like that? Is that something, I don't know? I guess that's a different kind of conversation. But in regards to Arsenal, this season, and especially Mikel Arteta, obviously they've been labeled set piece FC, um, for good measure at one point, but I think now that's becoming just like a bit of a tired joke. I always thought it anyway, to be honest. Wouldn't you want to have this weapon in your arsenal? No pun intended. Do you know what I mean? Like, wouldn't you want to have that one thing that you're just really, really good at? You know what I mean? Like, I get it. Obviously, of course, this, it goes back to your own personal preference about, does style even matter? If your team won every game or won the majority of their matches with a set piece, with a corner, as an example, would you care? Or would you not just care the fact that your team is winning? You know what I mean? I guess it's one of those things that, just like in life, until it stops happening, i.e., until you stop winning, that's when you start to have a problem with it, and et cetera, et cetera. And I think that's kind of where we're at with football in a general sense. It's when it stops working, that's when people are like, hey, don't really like that. I prefer if we did something a little bit different, blah, 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 and which is understandable. I do understand that. But I think that's kind of been the thing with Mikel Arteta, and especially recently as well. When I'm looking at the way that they've been playing, they have been really uninspiring. I will say that they haven't looked. And in recent seasons, I've looked at Arsenal just even as a team, and I thought, good, say first 11. not really good across the board. And listen, it's difficult. I'm not even trying to sit here and say that's an easy thing. Only really Manchester City have been able to have a good squad. And prior to that, you would have said, well, like Man United under Fergie. Like it's very rare that you get like a really good squad, so you can take out this player and put in that player XYZ kind of thing. So the fact that Arsenal have been able to kind of do that this season, is credit to them. I do think they got a really really good squad. More notably, I would say from defense to midfield, attack. They've got good players, but they're just not really clicking and doing their thing like that. But I guess overall, yeah, I would say they've probably got the best squad. Um, yeah. I'd say they squad wise, I feel like they've got enough anyway. Within their squad that even with injuries, you should still be able to play a quality enough player, in certain positions. Maybe they might be tied with a Manchester City potentially, depending on your own, kind of preference. But this season, I have looked at them, and it did feel at one point anyway, forget about whether they were going to run away with the league. It just felt like they were ready. It just felt like this was going to be the season. And sometimes you see it with certain teams. They like, especially teams who haven't, won it for a few seasons. You can just see it in the way that they're playing. You can just see it in certain players' eyes. You can hear it in the manager's voice and stuff like that. And listen, I think Arteta, he's ready. I mean, he must be now after 7 odd years. I think he's ready as a manager. Whether the players are, I think some are. I think your Declan Rices and things like that. I look at Gabriel. I think players like him, David Raya. I look at those kind of players, and maybe just because they're a bit more vocal, so it's a bit more easier to see it. But they look like they are ready. They play like they are kind of ready. Whether I can say that for everybody, I couldn't really. I'd be lying if I thought, yeah, I thought everyone was thought the same kind of thing. I think it's more we're along for the ride almost kind of thing. And if we do it, great. But yeah, this might not be whatever kind of thing. Again, I'm just looking at it from past experience. Again, I'm looking at it. My own team went 30 years without a title, but when we won the league in that season, we'd already had a really good season the season before. We won the Champions League. From that moment, I knew we was off. You could see it. We was already ready. We lost by 1 point. You come to that Manchester City side, which is far better than the one that we see of today. So you just knew whatever was going to happen, we were going to win it. How we won it, obviously, I didn't think that would happen, but yeah, now we're going to win it next season. Like you can just see it with these kind of players. So yeah, I'm still a bit with Arsenal, but again, listen, they may go and do it. And again, I just need to reiterate, it doesn't actually matter. As long as they do it, that's the most important thing. And I think a game like this, where they don't have to win, Arsenal fans, I think this may be a game where you just need to sit there and be happy with any result as long as it doesn't end in defeat. As long as it does not end in defeat, I think you should just be happy. I know some might be, oh, we drew the game, we could have won. Why didn't we do this and why didn't we do that? And blah, blah. Forget all of that. Just forget. Let people like myself worry about that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Because we don't support either club, so we just care about the good football. You guys don't need to worry about that.
Don't worry about it, sweetheart. Don't worry about it, sweetheart.
Right now, you're coming to the last stretch, the last 50 meters. Do you know what I'm saying? You really need to make sure you're able to get over that line. Don't think you're over there yet, because you ain't. Like I said, Man City only 6 points behind. So yeah, it's just kind of one of those things. And I think for me, that's what I feel Mikel Arteta is going to do heading, into this game. Pep Guardiola. I mean, you're talking about the GOAT. I mean, is there really even much more to say? I mean, he's doing everything he can. Is the best I can probably say. For him, he's doing everything he can possibly do. In this moment in time, I feel he feels maybe. I almost feel like he again is ready, but again, I look at the team and I'm like, dude, are they ready though? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, again, Haaland, Rodri, players of that kind of ilk. Ruben Diaz, again, the more vocal kind of players, I would say. But even a Semenyo, to be honest with you, who we'll talk about in a bit. But players like this, I feel like they are kind of ready. They look and they play like they are ready. Obviously, recent form, recent games, Manchester City have done really, really well. So are they getting back to that? I'll even take a look here to see how many games they've recently, kind of won. And I'm pretty sure they've won quite a few games as of recent, to be fair. But yeah, I think when it comes to Manchester City, it's just they're Manchester City, and I think that's just the way we've always kind of looked at them. You know what I mean? They've just always had that because they've got Pep Guardiola. I think that's just what it is. You've got Pep Guardiola, so we just think, yeah, like you can just get it done. You know what I mean? It's not really going to be a problem. Since they lost to Madrid on the 17th of March, they've not lost the game. Obviously, played 3 games. They played Arsenal. They've had, to be fair, I mean, they've had some really tough games. Arsenal, Liverpool, and Chelsea, and they've not conceded in any of those 3 games. I mean, if they don't concede again, I mean, after that, you're talking. They got Burnley, Southampton, Everton, Brentford, Bournemouth, Villa, and then Villa's the last game at home. If they don't concede at the weekend, I don't see them losing another game between now and the end of the season. I really don't. I really, really don't, because I just think they should be able to sweep. If they can sweep Arsenal, Liverpool, and Chelsea, twos, threes, fours, literally, I feel like they can definitely sweep the rest of these guys. So yeah, listen, Pep is Pep. He's gonna do his thing regardless. So I guess we'll just have to kind of wait and see. Obviously, the onus is more on him to win the game. He has to win. That's the difference between him and Arteta. They have to go for victory. Could that play against them? I don't know. I guess we will obviously, of course, wait and see. But looking at the key battles before we take a look, obviously, at like the tactical side, if you want to call it that. But key battles, I think one of the obvious ones, obviously, Rodri and Rice, in there. I think it's going to be an interesting one because I believe that they're both going to be doing two different kind of jobs. I don't think that they're going to do like similar jobs in this type of game. Rodri, I feel like is going to be tasked with potentially even just really getting the ball, maybe driving forward. Maybe that might change depending on game state, but getting the ball, you know, I say driving forward, getting forward, helping out with, obviously helps out with the build up play anyway from the back, but getting the ball and kind of just moving the ball forward quickly. Getting the ball into the right kind of areas. I feel like he's going to try and do that. Declan Rice, on the other hand, I don't know in this kind of game because I don't feel like this is the game he's going to start driving forward. He might do it like once or twice, of course, because that's just in his nature. But whether that's something that he's going to be tasked to do that much, I don't know. Again, I'm really only basing this off of the last game that they played, and yeah, he was just more trying to recycle possession. Do you know what I mean? Like it was just more like defensively, yeah, he can get about, and as we know, but yeah, going forward, I'm not 100% confident. Um, Another key battle. I mean, you could have pause. You could have called this a freeway because you could have said Haaland versus Gabriel and Saliba. It's always a battle. It's just always a battle, man. I feel like I don't know if them man got like personal beef, but yeah, it just always feels like it's a battle. You know what I mean with these kind of guys. But yeah, I feel like that's going to be kind of important within the game. And then at fullback, obviously, I don't know who's going to necessarily play fullback for Arsenal, but I'm confident unless Semenyo picks up an injury. I'm recording this on a Saturday, so unless Semenyo picks up an injury, I feel like he's going to start. And I think he spoke about facing Nkapie before. Is he going to be the same kind of result? In his eyes, we'd have to wait and see. And then the other side, Doku. Again, I don't know if Ben White will be the one who plays at their right back, but if so, I think Doku versus Ben White. I think that's a really good battle. I feel like that's a very even battle, or it can be a very even battle. It just really depends on how much Man City can get the ball to Doku, because I think that they're going to try and get that ball a lot closer to more of a Semenyo, Cherky, and Haaland, because those three seem to be, playing well and they're doing quite well, and they seem to have their own kind of relationship. But then I don't know if it then suits Doku being on the outside of that, because then he can be left to his own devices. You guys can play your triangle over there, but I can be left to my devices. And he's one of the most difficult wingers to face. And loads of right backs have said the same thing about Doku. He's just too tricky, man. You just don't know what he's going to do kind of next. Sometimes I feel like he doesn't even know. I know he's got that one move that he does, but when he doesn't do that one move, sometimes I'm like, I don't actually know what he's gonna do, where he's gonna try and go, kind of thing. Is he gonna carry on trying to dribble? Is he trying to go to the byline? Can he cut in? Is he gonna do a 1-2? He can just pop up something. Like he can be a tricky player. So yeah, I think that's definitely going to be a battle for him, man. Looking at the key players for this. Now, obviously, I don't know if Hazard or Eze is going to play. Maybe both of them start. I would actually start both of them and drop Gyökeres, but just in this type of game, because I don't think Gyökeres is going to be useful at all in this type of matchup. I would actually be playing almost like a Havertz will have to be the guy who's obviously up there, but it's almost like having two tens effectively. So you can have Eze and Havertz. I feel like you can do both of them kind of thing. So you effectively you could still be playing a 4-3, no, like a 4-2. So Rice, Zubimendi, and then the other two in Eze, Hazard, Eze Hazard, Eze Havertz, and then left and right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So 4-2-2-4, something like that. You know what I mean? So four at the back, then you got your two in front of them, that's Zubimendi and Rice. Then you got the two attacking, the two tens. So 4-2-4 essentially. Yeah, two tens in Havertz and Thing, and then obviously your wingers, whoever you put there, so Martinelli and whoever else is going to go on that other kind of side. I feel like you could do that. I just feel like they need to be able to nullify Manchester City in terms of their own build-up play, and I don't feel like they did that very well. If I'm being totally honest with you, yes, that means you're not going to have that much of an attacking threat. But like I said at the beginning of this, I don't feel like Arsenal need to win the games. I don't feel like this is one of those games where you need to worry too much, in my opinion, when it comes to that. Um, Obviously, the other player I feel like is going to be a key player for them is Declan Rice. Like I said before, in these kind of games, I do think maybe it could just be me and my eyes and when I'm watching it, but I do feel like he gets told something different in games like this in comparison to what we see him on, during like on a regular basis against other type of teams. So I'm hoping that that maybe changes in this type of game. And then obviously, as I say before, Martinelli, I think especially because I don't feel like I wouldn't be starting Gyökeres, only because he doesn't provide anything in a game like this, where you're not going to have the ball that much, where you're going to be running around more. I don't really feel like you need to have a Gyökeres there. You can bring him on. If you need a goal, you bring him on as a striker. But I don't really feel like you need someone. I feel like you need to be a bit more mobility. I feel like you need someone who's going to press a bit more. I feel like you need someone who can drop in a bit more. And Havertz, in my opinion, can do that a bit better than Gyökeres. Again, if you disagree, let me know in the comment section. But Martinelli, he's an outlet. He is an outlet. He is someone that I feel if your team just needs a break, then you can use him. He's definitely someone who it was he 24 now, and we're still waiting for him to kind of come on the scene almost. It's almost like, you know, and now he's almost past that period of like you were excited about what he could. Now it's like, okay, yeah. I hear a lot of Arsenal fans saying that they would sell him in a heartbeat, which is so interesting to hear, considering this was a player that was touted for big things. But unfortunately, he had that one really good season alongside Saka, I believe. And yeah, just since then, just really hasn't done anything. Um, for the Man City three players that I picked, it's really just the three. These are the only picture I could find of all three of them. But this was the three. Haaland, Semenyo, and Cherky. You could throw in Doku if you want. You could have. I could also throw in Rodri as well. But I feel like these three will be very vital because I feel like because it's Man City need to win the game, so they're gonna need to kind of do a little bit what they did in the cup final. But I guess cup final is a bit different because you can wait it out until extra time, technically speaking. So a manager might think that, oh, you know what, get 70 minutes, it's still 0-0. We can just hold out a little bit longer. We don't have to necessarily go for the jugular. Do you know what I mean? So it's a bit different. You can win the game at a later date. This is 90 minutes. You ain't got no time to win the game at any other time other than the allotted time, plus the stoppage time and stuff like that. So I feel like these three are going to be very important for Manchester City. You know what I mean? In the game, Semenyo, listen, he shut me up completely. He's been excellent since joining. Manchester City. He's really shown that he can play at this level for a team like Manchester City. Haaland, he's Haaland. Cherky, he's Cherky. Do you know what I mean? Like he's again, watch my video on Cherky. He's an excellent player. I think he's been the bargain of the season, maybe alongside I think KOD at Brentford. Someone mentioned him the other day, and I completely forgot. But yeah, I mean, if I'm talking a top player, Cherky is definitely up there. So yeah, like I say, there's a few players, obviously depending on, of course, who both teams decide to actually play. I think that will, of course, play into everything. But at this moment in time, I'm thinking those kind of 6, 7 players are going to be quite vital for either team, because I do think both teams are going to have a different kind, of emphasis on what it is that they kind of need to do. All right, now let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at this. This is the last little bit I wanted to do before I give you my prediction. So, obviously, this is the cup final, right? We can already kind of see the problem for Arsenal, right? Before we even get into anything, we can kind of see the problem, for Arsenal. As you can see here, Gabriel, I want to say that is, he's got the ball. No problem, he's got the ball. Who are you passing to, bro? By the way, I'm not blaming him. I'm just, this is not even me blaming anybody. I'm just, who are you passing to? Like, where is his next pass? Cool. His next pass is only to 3 individuals, like realistic passes. He could technically could maybe go over the top of a Doku on that side. He could. Obviously, this is in freeze frame, so if you think there might actually be another player there, for all I know. So, but I'm just gonna go with the players that we can see on the screen right now. Maybe again, like I said, he could have chipped this in. I don't actually know. But when I looked at this, I was like, all right, so he got 3 players that he can pass to. One of them being the goalkeeper. The other two, obviously, the left back over here with Capier, and then I think that's Capier, yeah, and then whoever that is onto to his right. In front of him, he's got 4 Manchester City players. He cannot get that pass into a Declan Rice. He can't get that pass into him. So maybe you can do I'm going to fake to Rice, but then give it to Henning Capier, because obviously Semenyo, or whoever that is closing down the angles. Cherky's also there, so he's also running at you. Haaland is going to then run at you from the other side, and we've still got Doku, who can then run into that other side as well. That this can't happen. This honestly cannot happen. You're going to have those 2 players, and this is why I said you can play a 4 and then a 2. But those 2 in there, they're going to need to be on the other side. It can't be that they're behind. It just for me, you just can't really do that. The only way I feel like that can necessarily work is you're gonna have to get someone like Zubamendi or Rice to drop in to come a bit closer to Gabriel. Then you're going to need to get like Havertz to then almost drop all the way. Let's say if we go with Havertz, Havertz is the one who's playing. Havertz is going to have to almost drop into that kind of Zubamendi role. So you're going to be a lot lower, obviously, but we just need the ball at this moment in time. Havertz or someone is going to then have to almost drop into that double kind of pivot position. Your 2 wingers are going to need to be a lot more infield. They can't stay out wide in these kind of positions, because once they do that, you leave the gaps in the middle. As you can see, there's 2 City players behind the Arsenal players already. The wingers for Arsenal, don't know who they were on this day, or can't remember who they were. They're out of the game. They're out of the game. So they're going to need to be a lot more infield to almost crowd that out. Let them almost have that wide area, but don't let them have the middle. Once you've got the middle, yeah, it opens up way too many avenues. At least on the right, it's still at an angle. You can only realistically go one of 2 ways. Whereas middle, you can go everywhere. Front, left, right, backwards if they need to. Like, it's too many places. Diagonals, it's too much. Let's try and minimize where it is that we can, kind of get them to pass the ball and stuff like that. So that for me is obviously one thing. Um, as I say, yeah, it's just that was kind of the main thing for me, is that Arsenal Arsenal's 2 were always behind the Manchester City 4 at the time, or 3 when it's whoever's kind of there. It's always behind, 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 and I'm like, okay, I think I do get it, because you're hoping that if you can just cut it through the middle, or you can Gabriel can thread it through the middle, Saliba can thread it through the middle. Yeah, then we can just play from there, and then obviously that already then negates 4 players in front. The problem is there's no gaps. There's nothing there for you. So the pivots, and I think Liverpool did quite similar against them. I know we got slapped 4-0, but prior to that, prior to getting the slap, Liverpool did have the pivots behind that, or in front of the Manchester City 4. So in that first half an hour, they weren't able to do what they were doing here in terms of when they're starting to press us. Because the reality is, you can press us, but we've negated a lot of what's actually going on. Guess what? Now Florian Wirtz can then drop in a little bit. Now your 2 wingers, again, they come a lot more infield. You crowd the game a little bit. You will have your one outlet, whoever that might be on either side, or whoever. You have one person as an outlet. That's all we need right now. We don't need all 4 of you all up there. it's just never going to work, because then you're never going to be able to build, and then you are really looking for those long balls on a constant kind of basis. So yeah, I just think for Arsenal in general, I feel like that's going to be something that they're going to probably need to do, in my opinion, a little bit more. If not, then I just don't see how it's going. Even if you, like I say, you got that number six who's got the ball there. Even if he chips that out to that left hand side, whoever's the one of the four can obviously run out there. Then you've got the right back of Manchester City who's going to be able to kind of go out there. It's just kind of never going to work. As you can see here, look, it's you're trying to thread that pass. Number 41, get it. Is that Declan Rice? I think, yeah, you get him on the ball. You have him almost dropping in to help out. Two centre backs can then split. Now your fullbacks can obviously get a little bit further forward, right? So now you got the three there, but then your two to three other players. So your false nine, your other midfield player, they all drop in. Like as you can see here, you've only got one outlet, and that's whoever's obviously on the left hand side or on the right hand side. You don't need any more than that in these type of situations. You just need the one outlet. Everyone else can obviously move up as the play obviously progresses, and it should be your fastest player. So let that be Martinelli as an example. But that's all you need if you're trying to then progress that ball. But what Arsenal were kind of doing, as we kind of saw before, it's like everyone standing here. I don't even know where the rest of the other kind of players were in these kind of situations. It's like, how are we getting the ball here? Like, I don't. If Raya's got the ball, and Raya obviously decides that he wants to move forward, maybe that could potentially work. He could act as that player, maybe, but then it runs the risk of, if he loses it or can't pass it out, then yeah, we're kind of in a little bit of a kerfuffle. So I think that's for me going to be one of the key areas, for Arsenal in this game. And I think if they can sort that out in the game, I think it will go a long way towards helping them, to get a better result than they did in the cup final. But I'm intrigued to know. I'm intrigued to know what you guys think in regards to the game. How do you think the game's going to go? What do you think, is going to happen in regards to, how Arsenal might play, how Man City might play? Do you think it's going to be a tight game? My prediction for the game, I mean, I can only see it go one way. So I'm going to say 3-0 Man City. Mm. And the thing is, it's not. This ain't even about like me wanting Man City to win or anything. I can really care less, bruv. Like it is what it is, isn't it? Um, I just feel like they're just in a too good of a moment at this moment in time, and I feel like Arsenal gonna want to win that. Like they're gonna really go for that Champions League. I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna go 3-0. I'm gonna go 3-0. 3-0 Manchester City. Home victory. Pile up the pressure on Arsenal, have everybody talking about them come Monday morning, have myself talking about them come Monday morning. But let's wait and see, man. Let's wait and see. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section for the game. Do you think Man City will win and pile on the pressure to Arsenal? Do you think Arsenal will come out victorious and cement themselves as Premier League champions? Let me know your thoughts. I will catch you guys very, very soon. Peace.